Hey there, I'm Adrienne, and I just want to say welcome to this session. I'm so excited that you're here. So, today we are going to be talking about feeling empowered, not held back, and how to stop letting your past setbacks keep you stuck. So, before we get too into everything, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So, I'm a transformation coach, which means I'm a life coach, but I work with people to get the transformation that they want in their lives. Specifically, I work with people that have felt like they've had their butt kicked by life. Like when life just keeps piling on and you feel like you can't quite get out of that reaction mode and you're wondering, like, what's next? Right? When you finally get that breath of fresh air, you know you're made for more and you're wondering what's next. So those are the people that I typically work with. And I'm here to help you build your resilience, reclaim your power, and step into a life that feels aligned and purposeful and yours. Because the thing is, when things are really tough, we can get into this space where, like I said, we're reacting and we're not necessarily taking the time and intention to make sure that what we're doing is aligned with what we actually want for ourselves and what we want for our lives. And after we've been through really challenging times, what we want changes because we have changed. So if we're not really intentional about figuring out what that means, it's very challenging to find your path forward. So I mentioned getting your butt kicked by life. I feel like the people that have experienced this know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's me, right? Like I've had a lot of ups and downs, and the past couple of years too have been very challenging. So I've had my fair share of setbacks, from health stuff to health stuff of family members, big career changes I didn't choose. And a lot of this stuff has left me time and again feeling like, okay, what now? What now? But here's what I've learned. In those hard moments, they don't have to define you. Those challenging times can become the foundation for a stronger, more empowered version of you. I'm not just saying this to make you feel good. I genuinely believe it, because that is the approach and the belief that has guided me, that has helped me in my own life. So through my coaching, I help people like you, if you're watching this, that have felt stuck, weighed down, or unsure of their next step. I help them move forward with clarity and confidence. Really figure out what it is you want, and then have the confidence to actually go after it and make it yours. So together, if you stick with me through this session, we're going to break through what's holding you back. We're going to, we work to create habits that truly support you. And my mission always is to help you design a life that excites you. When you wake up in the morning, you're actually excited about your life. That's not to say you'll never have challenging times, right? The human experience dictates that we're all going to go through ups and downs. But through my coaching, I equip people for when those challenging times come to be able to navigate through them and not let them completely stop them in their tracks, leave them stuck, feeling unsure of what's next. They still know their path. And they have the tools and the coping mechanisms to keep following it. So when I talk about transformation or coaching, I'm not talking about quick fixes or even surface level changes. That is not my jam. For me, it is all about sustainable transformation. And really that happens one step at a time. So if you're somebody that has felt like you're just surviving and you want to be thriving, let's do this, right? Let's get into this. This session is going to help you. The way I look at this session is almost like a mini coaching session. And I know that that's a little bit, different than what you might think, because I'm on this side of the screen. If you're watching, you're on that side of the screen. So there's not that dialogue that happens in a coaching session. But I've structured this in a way to actually give you things to think about as we're going through and some questions for you to answer. And we're actually going to use a coaching tool that's just going to kind of help you see how you're thinking about certain things that have happened. So I want you to get real for a second. How many times have you caught yourself replaying the same story in your mind? The one where you failed. You tried, but you failed. Things didn't go as planned, so you gave up. That's not for you. Or maybe just the one where life has knocked you down and you're just tired, right? And you just keep telling yourself these things like, I can't do this. This is hard. These things have happened. Whatever that story is for you. And now, if that is you, right? Like that story has become a weight. It leaves you feeling stuck. And I say feeling stuck because one of the most common things people come to me and other coaches for is the fact that they feel stuck. And a lot of what's keeping you stuck is the stories that you're telling yourself about the things that have happened. So I want you to consider this as like a capital T truth. The things that have happened, whatever they were, however hard they were, however challenging they were, that story, that thing that happened, that's not the end of your journey. Truly, it's not. It may feel earth-shattering. It may feel like everything as you knew it is changed and it's different and it's not what you wanted, but that's not the end of your story. Truly, it is the beginning, and it can be a breakthrough if you allow it to be. Today in this session, we're actually going to rewrite a story that's keeping you held back together. I know that you're here because you know you're ready for something more. You wouldn't be watching something like this. Like if it popped up in your feed, you wouldn't just be watching it because like, oh, well, that sounds kind of cool. No, like you're watching this because you're somebody that knows that you are made for more. What's happened to you doesn't have to define you, and you know that. Just because you're feeling stuck and you don't know where to go, it doesn't mean that you don't still have that whisper that tells you you're made for more. Because you are. So if you've ever felt held back by your past, by something happened, this is your moment to start working on letting it go. It's your moment to consider what moving forward could look like for you. And even if you're not like charging down this new path, like forging ahead, ready to go, right? This moment, this session is an opportunity for you to reclaim your power. To not let that story dictate what you believe about yourself and what you're capable of and what your potential is. So if you're still with me, the transformation that you could experience, the shift that you could experience by the end of this session is you're going to rewrite a story that you've been telling yourself about your setbacks. There's an opportunity for a mindset shift that's going to help you see your past as fuel for growth, not a barrier, actually fuel for growth. And you're going to get some clarity on what's next for you and how to move forward. Again, this is not about just feeling inspired. These aren't just like feel-good words. These sessions that I do are about real change. I want you to grab a notebook, grab a pen. Like we're not just staring at our phones watching this passively. I want you to get a notebook and get a pen, and I want you to lean into this and really like take some time and let's do this together. With that said, I need you to be present, right? Like if you're watching this and you have like 3 things playing in the background and you got all this stuff going on, if you're multitasking, you're not really focusing on any one thing. So I want you to be present. And that's why I say get the notebook, get the pen, like let's do the work as we're going through this so you can actually absorb the benefits of it. So if you're watching this, I want you to actually write in the comments, I'm here. Just type it in. I'm here. I want to see you. I want to know that you're watching. I want to know that you're with me. So even if you're going to catch the replay later, right? Like even if you're watching this and it's not live, still type it in. I'm here. Because I actually go back and look at all the comments on my videos and I interact with everybody. So I want to see you. I want to know that you're here. So type, I'm here. Okay, so the mindset shift that I'm going to offer you is your past is a chapter, not the whole story. Your past is a chapter, not the whole story. So I want you to at least be open to the idea that your setbacks are not proof of why you can't. They can be proof of how much you've already overcome. Every setback that you faced you're still here. Even if you're not exactly living your dream life, you're not exactly like doing all the things you want to be doing, you're still here. You made it through your hardest days. And that is evidence of your resilience, your ability to keep going, even imperfectly, right? Because perfection is a lie. That's not real. The fact that you're here, you're watching this, you've gotten through challenging things before, you're a resilient person. You've got some grit. You have the ability to rise. So again, like your past, it does not define you. Whatever setback you experienced, that's just where your strength grows. Truly. Like if you think about all of the biggest lessons you've had in your life, all of your biggest evolutionary moments, they're not when like the good stuff happens. Typically, those moments are when the challenging stuff happens, right? Like you're not all of a sudden better because you had a really great day. A lot of times we get better on the other side of the really hard stuff we had to go through. So I want you to really ask yourself, right? Like if your setbacks, if your challenges are where your strength grows, what thoughts are you going to choose today about that? Will it be something that's about doubt or fear? Or would it be courage? Possibility, knowing that you can do more, knowing that you can bring whatever it is that you want into your reality. So I want to go through some actual coaching questions with you. And again, this is why I said like grab a pen and, grab some paper, and I have, some questions for you. We're going to go through them. We're going to do a little timer so you could jot some thoughts down. And I encourage you, if you are watching this, I want you to, if you catch the replay, like write down the questions or later on come back and pause them and give yourself some more time, because the time that I'm going to give you is not, quite enough to dig in as much as you can into these questions. But these are just kind of an opportunity to get the wheels turning for you to kind of see how you're looking at things. So let's get started on that. So our first question. Okay, our first question. What's a past setback that you keep replaying in your mind? Something that you keep revisiting, like when you think about starting something new or trying something new or going after an opportunity, and that little voice that's telling you like you can't, or it's just keeping you stuck. You think you've got whatever self-doubt you got going on, whatever reasons you have why it's not going to work. That's looping in your mind. So I want you just to consider, what's a past setback you keep replaying in your mind? And I'm going to set the timer for this for a minute. So just jot some thoughts down on it. We're going to go somewhere with this. Okay, just wrap up your final thoughts on that. Got about 5 seconds left. Okay, so we just did that question, and there's going to be another one that we're going to get to. But before we dive into that, I want to give you some context. So the reason that we're identifying a past setback that you keep replaying in your mind is because when you're replaying that, you're telling yourself a story about it. And naming the story brings awareness to it. And once you see what you're telling yourself clearly, like you take a pause and you're like, what are the things I'm saying to myself? Once you can see that, you can decide to rewrite it. It's not always easy, and that's where something like coaching comes in, have somebody walk you through it. But really the first step is getting the awareness of what you're saying to yourself about the thing that happened. So The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to explore the question of what lesson or strength can you take from that experience. And I know that sometimes this can be really challenging because, your mind might go to, well, this really hard, awful thing happened, or, my person died, or I lost my job, or whatever it is. And you're thinking like, there's no lesson here, right? There's no strength to be gained. Like, this is ridiculous, unfair, challenging. Like, I don't want this to be something that I have to learn from because, this is awful. And I get that. Believe me, I get that. But again, when you're on the other side of things and when you take time to reflect, there usually is something in that you can take forward, right? I have a belief, it's like a core belief in my life, and it has really gotten me through a lot of challenging things. And that belief is everything is for me. Everything is for me. I offer that to you. Try it on, see if it fits, see if you like it. But if you can hold space for the idea that everything that happens can be for you. I'm not saying that you like that it happened. I'm not saying that, you want it to happen again or that there's like any approval or anything there. It's just when something happens, that's a circumstance of life. Most of that is out of our control. Like, things happen beyond us. People dying, not something we can control. Losing our job sometimes, not something we can control. Somebody decides they don't want to be with us anymore. That's their choice. We can't like forcibly keep them and make them want to love us, right? Like, these challenging things happen. That's a circumstance. And you can't change that happened, but you can change how you look at it. So for me, everything is for me. Like, even the really difficult stuff, I am going to choose to find a way to get something out of that. And again, like, if you're new to this type of work, that might be a leap and might almost be annoying for you to hear. And apologies if it is, but truly, like, when you can lean into that and you can explore it and, figure it out, that will help you. I promise you it will help you. It has helped me so many times. So on that note, the thing that you were just writing about, that setback that's replaying in your mind, I want you to write just a quick minute again, what lesson or strength can you take from that experience? And maybe it's one that you hope to take from it. Maybe you're not there yet, but just consider that idea. So we're going to start the clock again, just 1 minute on the clock, jot a few things down. Okay, we're going to wrap up those final thoughts there. Just a couple seconds left. Okay, so our next question that we're going to explore is, how is holding on to this story serving you, and how is it holding you back? So we wrote about a setback that's been replaying in our mind, and whatever we're saying about it, whatever we're telling ourselves, how is holding on to that story serving you, or how is it holding you back? So this question, right, like, it shines a light on the idea that staying stuck might feel safer than moving forward. It's also an invitation to consider that if you had the freedom to release that, if you can see that it's not serving you, what that could bring you. So it's just, again, it's an exploration. It's just considering some different thoughts, some ideas. How is holding on to the story serving you, and how is it holding you back? I'm going to throw a minute up there and just jot some quick thoughts down. Okay, just wrap up your last thoughts there. Okay, so before we get into the next bit, what I want to do is I want to just kind of give you the why behind why we're doing this. So if you kind of consider the way the things work, right? You have the circumstances, like I said, just the things that happen in life. They are like just the facts of life. It happened. Nobody can deny the fact that it happened. So the events of your past, other people's actions, those are circumstances, right? They happened, they're facts. That is what is already done, can't be changed. And I want you to consider the fact that circumstances are not good or bad. They're just neutral. There are things that happen. And you might be thinking, well, if somebody died, that is not neutral, right? If somebody, if I got a divorce is not neutral. The divorce, the death, those things actually are neutral. But you make those things mean something based on your thoughts about the person, about what it brought to your life, about what it meant about who you are. But the actual things that happened, just the happenings of that, right? Like I said, like maybe a death, a divorce, whatever it is, whatever that challenging thing that you're going through is, right? Like that is just a circumstance. The circumstance itself is neutral. So from that, what we do is we go to thoughts. So your circumstances happen, and then you have thoughts about the circumstances. And so that's the stuff that you're thinking in your mind, right? There are some descriptive words, sometimes colorful, right? There are opinions. You might say, this thing that happened is terrible, or you have a judgment, basically, right? But nothing that happens in your life is amazing or terrible until you decide to have a thought to make it that way. Again, if you're kind of new to thought work and new to some of these concepts, you might be rolling your eyes at me, and I totally get that. But stick with me, okay? This will make sense as we go through it. And I want you to understand that this is where I'm coming from, because some of what we're doing, if you can understand this bit, that's actually going to help you a lot as you work through it. So circumstance happens, you have thoughts about it, and that's where the judgment, the opinion, the judging it as good or bad, right or wrong, that's where that comes in. And the thoughts that you have are actually what produce your feelings. So feelings, they're vibrations in your body, right? And so understanding that your thoughts cause your feelings is how you can learn to feel better without changing your circumstances. Because the thing is, like, you can't change the thing that's outside of your control. You can't change the fact that somebody died. You can't change the fact that this person is choosing not to be with you anymore, or that your company is closing down and you can't work there anymore, right? These are some of the things that are beyond our control that are super challenging. You can't change those things. But if you figure out a way to change the way you're thinking about them, that's how you can feel better without actually changing what's happening. So feelings are typically like one word: happy, sad, angry, whatever it might be. I have a dog. You can probably hear her right now. She's going a little crazy. But that aside, gosh, she always barks at the most inopportune time, though. Let me just throw that out there. I hope you can hear me over this. But, okay, so we're at thoughts, then feelings. Thoughts create your feelings. And so your feelings are what dictate your actions. And actions include what you do or don't do or react to. So I think she might be stopping. Maybe not. She's just coming closer. That's super helpful. Hang on one second, and I'm going to close the door. Maybe, just maybe, it'll get a little quieter. Okay, we're gonna try to keep going. You can probably still hear it because I know I can. But anyways, okay, so circumstances, you have thoughts about the circumstances. Those thoughts create your feelings. Your feelings are what create your actions, right? So how you feel about something is what you do, what you don't do, how you react. And if you're not taking action and you're wondering why you're not, ask yourself what feelings you're having before you want to do the thing. Before, you're thinking something and you're like, I'm going to do this, and then you don't. Explore what you're feeling right before that decision point. And then you can work backwards to see what thought is driving the feeling. So all of this is kind of adding up to our next exercise that we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little more writing. So I hope you have that notebook, the pen, and we're going to create 2 columns on a piece of paper. And let's see. Let me bring this up for you so you can see it. Okay. So on the left side of the paper, you're going to write down that setback, right? But you're specifically going to write down the script that's playing in your head. Like, what are you telling yourself about that setback? That's going to go on the left side of the page. Then on the right side of the page, you're going to write from a place of empowerment. And you might be thinking, well, if it was like that easy to write from a place of empowerment, I wouldn't be struggling. But sometimes we just have to get into that mindset of, like, if anything were possible, if everything all of a sudden was going right, what would that look like? So on the left side, again, we're going to write down the story that we've been telling ourselves. And I want you to write down specific stuff. Like, what are the actual things you're saying to yourself? I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I can't figure it out. Like, whatever those thoughts are, like the secret thoughts that are playing in your head that you do not want over a loudspeaker, that's what you're writing down on the left side of the page. And on the right side of the page, you're going to rewrite that from a place of empowerment. And that might look like, I'm somebody that figures this out. I'm somebody that even when it gets challenging, I keep going. I'm somebody that takes care of myself and gives myself the rest and the space that I need to keep going. Right? So if all circumstances were perfect and ideal, that space of empowerment, that's what you're going to write on the right side of the page. And if you're thinking like, again, that's just a little bit too much of a stretch for me to go to right now. And thank you, Joyce. My dog, she, like I said, barks at the most inopportune times. And ever since I moved a couple months ago, it seems like she does that more often. So that's super fun and helpful when you're trying to record do live stuff. But, all in owning dogs. Her personality, charming personality. So we're left and right side of the page. And for the place of empowerment, a good way to get into that frame of mind is to think, yourself in, say, 5 years or 10 years from now. And again, everything has gone, like, it really turned around and things are smooth sailing. These opportunities are coming that you've, really wanted. Everything is finally going right. Like, you're not in that space where you feel like everything is kind of piling on for you. You're actually in a space where you're like, things are clicking. Things are, finally moving in the direction that I want to move in. I feel energized. I'm excited about what's going on. So you get into that space where you imagine yourself, a couple years in the future, 5 years, 10 years, and you're successful. You're living in abundance. Good things are happening. The challenges that you went through, you feel like they actually did make you stronger. It took you some time, took you some years to get there, but you believe that, you feel that. You're the person that now is able to adapt and overcome setbacks as they happen rather than, allowing them to stop in your tracks. So I want you to write from that place. And when you're writing from that place, how would your future self describe this experience as part of your growth journey? So left side, the stories you're telling yourself. The right side, that future self, rewriting that from a place of empowerment. So I'm going to start the clock. This doesn't have to be like complete sentences, perfect narrative, just like jot some stuff down, get some ideas out there, and it's just going to kind of get you thinking a little bit differently. Okay, so just finish up the last thoughts on that. So now that you have some thoughts about the new story, about thinking about it from a more empowered place, I want you to think about how that makes you feel. How does the new version of the story make you feel? Like, how does that feel in your body? Like, if that was the reality, if that was what was happening in your life rather than the difficult thing, like, how would that make you feel? Would you be energized? Would you be happy? Would you be excited? Just to kind of explore some of those words, and, you can jot them down. We won't throw up the timer for this one, but I just want you to kind of think about the difference energetically of how that makes you feel when you're coming from that place. I want you to think about what's one thing that you can see in yourself now that you couldn't see before. Writing the setback, taking a new perspective, considering like what could be the strength, what could be the lesson, just exploring these things. If any of those questions opened up, what's one thing that you might see in yourself now that you couldn't see before? Just consider it, jot it down. I want you to consider how you can use this new narrative to guide your next step forward. And the reason for this is oftentimes when, we go through really challenging times, we think, okay, well, when this passes, I'll do this next thing. Or when I feel better, I'll sign up for this class. When I have more time, I'll finally pursue the dream. I'll pursue the goal. But the reality is that ideal circumstances typically do not exist. So if you have this idea in your mind, right, like that this is giving you strength, it's helping you go forward, you're coming from more of a place of this doesn't have to stop me. How can that guide your next step forward? And you can also look at it from the perspective of if you were that 5-year from now version of yourself, that 10-year from now version of yourself, what is something that person would be doing in their life to create the way that they feel? When all the bad stuff has passed, what is one thing that they'd be doing? And you want to do that now, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, right? Like you want to lean into becoming that version of yourself now. And that may sound overwhelming, but really it's about just choosing one action that aligns with your new story. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or crazy. It could just start with something small, like reaching out to somebody that's doing the thing that you want to do and ask them some questions about it. It could be setting a goal and looking at it like, how can I break this up into the tiniest steps possible? And then once you do that, what's the tiniest thing I could do right now that'll inch me just a little bit closer to the thing that I want to do? Or maybe you write yourself a letter from your future self, reminding you of your strength, right? Like these could be things that are going to create internal shifts. They don't have to be these big, bold things outside of you yet, right? It's just one small step. And the reason, again, is because we have this tendency to want to wait until things are better before we do anything. But when you feel stuck or unsure of what to do next, the best way to figure that out is to take some kind of action. It doesn't have to be perfect action. It doesn't have to be the action that's going to set you on the path that's going to make everything perfect, because that's not realistic. But action creates clarity. So by just choosing one thing that you're going to do, you'll get some information from that. You'll get some feedback when you do it. Do you feel good doing it? Did you like doing it? Did it help you in some way? Every time you do something, you get feedback from doing that. So when we want to stay stuck and we want to wait for things to be better, that's our mind tricking us into keeping us safe, because it doesn't want us to fail. It doesn't want us to feel bad again. It doesn't want something else to upset us. But really, by doing something, stepping into some kind of action, you're going to very quickly figure out what the next right thing is, and then the next right thing after that. But you have to take that first little step forward. So choose just one action. That's all I'm asking. And once you do that, action doesn't only create clarity, it creates momentum. Once you can get yourself to do that one small thing, suddenly doing the next small thing doesn't seem quite as hard. Or even if it does feel hard, you know you just did that thing, so you can do this too, right? So you'll get some clarity and you'll get some action, clarity and momentum just by picking one thing to do today. So if you want, you can drop that in the comments. What's the thing that you're going to do? If you're not sure, no big deal. Take a couple minutes when this wraps up and make your decision. And accountability, right? It helps. So if you figure out what your one action is going to be, I want you to actually come back to this and drop it in the comments. Let me see it. And I will message you back and we're going to talk about it. And that's, like I said, that's the type of thing that creates momentum. You're creating conversation around the things that you want for yourself, around what might be possible for you. So here's the thing. We know that difficult times are inevitable, right? Like, hard things are going to happen. Setbacks happen to all of us. And the reality is, it really doesn't matter what's behind you. And that may sound a little jarring depending on the challenging thing that you're dealing with. But truly, what happened, happened. You can't change the thing that already happened. But you can choose to do what you're going to do next. Whatever your next thing is, you get to choose that. I feel like you have already proven, at least to me, and you should feel like you're doing it for yourself. You're proven that you're strong and you're capable because you're watching this. So you're willing to think about things a little bit differently. You're willing to get into the headspace of, how do I get unstuck? I know I want to do something. A lot of people make the choice to just stay where they are. Even if they have that whisper, like, I want something else. I want to be doing something. Well, I don't know how to do it, so they just choose to okay, I'm not going to figure it out. But you're here, you're watching this. You're willing to think about things a little bit differently. And to me, like, that, just opening up your mind to that is like one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself. Because once you do that, again, that's kind of like, okay, well, what's next? Your mind's going to be it's going to be thinking after this. It's going to be questioning the stories you're telling yourself. What's possible for me? Maybe I can do this, right? Like, this little thing could just open up the door of how you think about yourself and what you can do. This year, like 2024, it's been a challenging one for a lot of people, but you don't have to stay in that. You can reclaim your story, you can reclaim your power, and you can decide what your next chapter is going to look like. Now, I'm not saying, again, from the very beginning, if you have been with me since the beginning of this isn't about like quick fixes or surface level change. This is about actual transformation. And this type of stuff does not happen overnight. It just doesn't. If anyone is telling you that's the case, they're lying to you. But the thing is, you can make decisions to step into that next version of yourself, to work towards the person that you want to become. You have everything that you need inside of you. Just because you're talking yourself out of things, or you're really stuck in your feelings, your sadness, maybe you're a little bit depressed and you're just feeling really down, you don't have to stay there. Right now, as we're going into a new year, right? Like, new year, new me. But you don't have to wait until January 1st to start taking little steps forward, or even start dreaming about what you want next year to look like. You can start doing that now. You can start letting those wheels turn in your mind and think, like, what is next for me? What do I want? And not what everybody else wants for you, like what you actually want for your life. So if today has resonated with you at all, you've gotten something out of this. Again, I know it's a little bit of a different format because it's me talking here and you're on that side of the screen and there's not a ton of interaction. But if you are interested in doing more, then I do have something that you can participate in. So I do empowerment hours, and they are on the first and third Thursdays of the month. And you can go to my website, adriancrowley.com/empowerment hour. And I also have a link in my bio on all of my social, and you can just sign up for it there. It's free. It's group coaching. So rather than me just talking kind of at you through the screen, like, hey, answer these questions, this is actually time where we'll be in a group in Zoom, and every session is a different topic that we'll talk about related to moving forward, getting through challenging times, what's next, writing that next chapter, reinvention, stuff like that. and it's real-time support. We'll go back and forth. So say you answer the questions, you feel stuck, whatever it might be, like we can actually have a conversation. I can coach you through it in real time. And these sessions are very much designed to help you rebuild your resilience. So that way, as challenging times come up, you can adapt in real time and figure out like what's next rather than making it stop you in your tracks. And another huge component of this is reconnecting with your purpose, because when hard things happen, a lot of times, like I said, it changes us and we don't even know what we want anymore. Even if it's not like the capital P purpose of our life, like maybe your day feels less purposeful. So in these sessions, we kind of work on reconnecting with that. And it's about actually setting goals. Once we can figure out, like, what do you want? We set the goals and we work towards actually reaching them. Like, what does that take? What does it require? What does it look like? What are the steps to get there? And we work this stuff out in real time. It's your chance to ask questions. You'll be in a community, in a group with like-minded people that want more, that have been through hard things. Maybe not the same exact things as you, but they know what it feels like to go through the ringer. And they want something more for themselves too. So super, super supportive community. So if this sounds like something that you can get something out of, I hope you will sign up. Again, the link is in my bio. Just click on it, get registered. You can actually pick from all of the dates that are available right now. December and January are up. So register for the date and time that works for you. And again, you'll gain some clarity, you will get unstuck, and you will feel more empowered at the end of that. So I hope that you got something out of this, and I look forward to working with you in the future. I hope you have a super fantastic night, and thank you for watching.